This is the platform. Let's talk about it.
What up, Doe?
I'm your boy Doe.
What up, man? As far as you, man.
It's a long-term process, though, and you got to start doing things like whatever steps you can take. And we do want to talk to you because, in particular, this morning we were discussing Joe Biden sitting down and talking with Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, about these initiatives and actually funneling more money into the police department. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
So when I was here last, and when I went to and you were like, is he really going to do it? Mm-hmm. And he really did it. And so those initiatives came from the executive order when I had the luxury of being at the White House on April 8th of last year. And so part of the executive order was to set up this task force with federal police, FBI, DIA to stop the trafficking of guns across the
state lines.
Mm-hmm. Right? Then the other part is the community violence intervention investment, right? And so he has not only released out of 26 different programs over $200 million across the nation. He has put $5 billion in his Build Back Better bill. He has released another $200 million that he's getting ready to release from his budget. And he's been pushing and advocating for governors, mayors, and elected officials to use the American Relief Funds to put into gun violence. And so now the resource is there for organizations to use across the city, across the state, across the nation. But sometimes what happens in that is that the elected official becomes the deciding factor of how the money gets released, who it goes to, and what it's for. And they don't have the knowledge of what to do, right? You can't just go buy a violence interrupter. You can't go give the corner store guy some money to buy a violence interrupter, or even the hospital some money to go buy a violence interrupter. I look at it as a thing of, if you're going to get a car, you're not going to go to the tire dealer to get your car, right? He might make the best tire for that car, but he's not going to make the whole car. You got to go to the car factory, the person who's the expert and the specialist in making the car, to make the whole car, because they're going to make sure the system is working, all of the pieces are together properly, and that is some of the things that are missing across the nation, right? And unfortunately here in New York as well. So it's a slow process of recovery in terms of educating them and taking the time for them to even listen to us. They got to listen to us. Like, you can't lead this process. You can't go hire somebody because they had a job or had a title. You got to listen to the people who are the expert so that we put the money in the right places, because the right people have to have this job. Because, and so Biden coming here and continuing to lift that effort is amazing.
What does community policing look like?
Community policing for Eric, right, looks like I'm going after so community policing is a police in a community working to make sure that everything is right. Like, they really want to make sure that people are not over-policed, right? But that violence is stopped, right? I strongly believe Eric has been working with us since the 90s around stopping police brutality. So I doubt that Eric would come in now and want to unleash police to beat up and create inhumane acts inside of our community against Black and brown kids. But what Eric is doing is investing in us, not only in resources, but he's saying to every city agency, you have to work with them, right? So if we have a situation, we could be advocates for folks. We can help you connect to housing. We can connect you to jobs. We can connect you to therapy. So we have a lot of mental wellness programs that are being released across the city. And so a lot of young people and families are hurt. They're broken. And so when you go in front of a police or police stops you, a lot of times your first instinct is to run. A lot of your time, your first, what the fuck you stopping me for, right? And so some of the police, in which Eric was saying, they're going to be trained different on how they come out and interface with the community. So that program is not just coming out into the street. They're going through a rigorous training that even we've been asked to participate in what that training should look like. So it's going to be very different.
I see a lot of people also, and maybe you can explain this better, bringing back this plainclothes unit. A lot of people are flashing back to the 90s where stop and frisk was implemented, and it really impacted Black and brown communities more than anybody else. And so I wanted to get your thoughts on that, because Eric Adams is saying it's going to be implemented, but in a different way that's more effective. Can you do that?
Yes, you can. So I'm on a block, right? Our business is on a block. I'm going to step on my block and like, yo, this ain't happening on this block. You can't come over here and just shoot like you ain't got no sense, right? So in some form or fashion, you got to demand control of your block, right? And the city is Eric's block. And what he's saying is that driving down the street, shooting out your cars and just some of those kids who like we're saying to every young person, right, who has a gun, who is hurting in their heart, who doesn't know what to do, to join us and allow us to help you, right? Because there is no way out, right? There's no way out in the sense that everybody's got a gun, right? Because of whatever reason, everybody's got a gun. So if you think you going on a block and you're going to, like, I'm going to shoot at you and you ain't going to get shot, your man's is going to get killed. Your baby mama might get killed. Your child might get, you're not winning in this shit, right? So let's find another way to resolve the situation, right? He's saying that I'm going to invest in every way for you to find another way to resolve the situation. But
so are these violence interrupters that are going to be playing, like, who are these playing?
No. What I'm saying, he's investing in that. Mm-hmm. And then he's saying, now, if you still don't want to change your life and you just want to come in the community and still shoot at everybody, then I got a crew for you too, right? You understand? So it's not going to be the jump out boys just jumping out everywhere, jumping out. And if we do our job right, if the New York City crisis management system that is in every borough and throughout the boroughs, if we do our job right, we're going to be there to make sure the police don't do that.
How do we reduce gun violence? Because I feel like you said, growing up as a kid in New York, there wasn't too many people that had guns. You know somebody that had a gun.
Right.
But like you said, now everybody has a gun. And the guns that they have are like, this ain't regular 9mm, regular Glocks, regular 9 shots, 11 bullets. I mean, they got barrels with 40 shots. So how do we reduce the amount of guns that are coming into New York City? You know?
So that's what the task force job is to do, right? And no, in the Trump era is where all these guns came into the streets, in our streets in particular. So understand it's intentional, right? But the way you stop it is comprehensively, right? All of these different things. The New York City crisis management system addresses violence as a public health crisis. And so we do therapeutic services. We have interrupters who are out there working with the people who we know and in the hotspot areas that we know where people are gun trafficking. We hire formerly incarcerated men and women, the OGs in the community, because if they go up, they can help regulate the streets, right? Because they helped regulate the streets, right? And then we help get jobs. We help with the whole family. We help we're inside of all of the correctional facilities, whether juvenile facilities. So we're working with those individuals to change their direction, right? Get them drug counsel, all kind of counseling that's needed. Get them in places where they can live with quality living. So it's going to take all of that. Then it's going to take parents, check your house, right? Mm-hmm. Check your house. Check your kid's book bag. Check your kid's heart, right? Don't just like, do this and that. You know, like, and if it's a problem, then go get help to raise your child, right? Because the guns go home somewhere. They're in the bushes in the backyard or whatever. Check your house, right? And then turn that gun in if you find it. Because you got to fight for your child's life just like the streets is fighting for your child's life. And you got to get help, right? Because this is vicarious trauma, generational trauma from the 80s and the 90s with the crack epidemic. We still ain't recovered from that, right? And so people have to get help. They have to get help. And these are 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds, right?
You know, one time they said that, if you get caught with a gun, it's 3 years, right? And everybody was scared of that in New York, right? You get caught, you got to sit down for 3 years. But now it doesn't seem like that's a worry for people anymore, Charlamagne showed me a video the other day of a guy walking down the Bronx on a street with an AR-15 in his hand. Like, it's to the point, daylight. Yeah, broad daylight. It's to the point where, at one time, you ain't only have to worry about getting shot at night. Because, daytime, nobody was shooting. But now it's like, it just seemed like nobody cares. And then they said that more violent offenders are getting bail and coming out. So that was another problem people were saying. So what are your suggestions for all of that?
So the violent offenders are not getting out. You know, like there's a myth to what it is people believe is happening with this whole bail reform, right? And it's not like, oh, just let everybody out, right? Each situation is analyzed by each situation. Keeping people incarcerated is not helping the situation. Statistically, it doesn't help the situation, right? We've had that. We've been there, right? We went from 1,000 people shot a year down to, in 2017, to 300 people shot a year, right? And so it wasn't incarceration. It was a collective work, right? So one, yes, we got to get the guns off the street, which is why the task force, which is why those different things that are setting up. And I just texted Eric and asked him if he wanted to say something. And he said, we are going to be focused on empowering the CMS to get to the root causes of violence while we address the immediate need to get rid of our city guns, right? Which goes to what we was talking about. We won't go back to heavy-handed police, and we won't go back to the 2,000 murders a year.
How do you train the police differently? Because I know you said it's an effort that you're involved in also. So what?
So I will use me, right? Right? When in the 90s and 80s, anytime me and the police came in contact, we were physically fighting, and then I would get arrested. They had a picture of me in their thing, and they would call me the skunk because I had a white streak, right? And they would get her first because she's going to ignite the rest of the people, right? And what I had to say is it depleted me, and it depleted all the people around me fighting every single time, right? Because I'm not going to change that person, right? What I had to do is change myself. So I had to go and engage in meditation, yoga, therapy, all of that different stuff, just to help me control me, so that I know, like, I'm not negating the fact of who that person is coming to me and that they're wrong, right? But I got to deal with the system. And I was then able to go to the mayor's office and take this concept and build this whole New York City crisis management system with my friends, A.T. Mitchell and other folks around the city, right? And so now we have over 40 sites who are hiring formerly incarcerated men and women. So my mind has changed. Who I was back then, I'm not now, right? I'm still a revolutionary. I'm still focused and conscious that Black people need to be free from oppression, that we have a right to have quality human rights and adequate food and health care and education for our children. But there's a process, right? And so the more we spend time on their mind and then discipline them, hold them accountable for their actions, they will change.
This feels like...
And then if not, you fire them.
Yeah, this feels like, I remember when the 94, well, I don't remember it, but when the 94 crime bill was happening, there was members of the CBC who were opposing it, but they wanted something to happen with the crime, but they also wanted the resources to be added to that. It feels kind of like they're trying to right those wrongs a little bit.
Yeah, they could be. But so the crime bill is different, right? Because we're not creating something to incarcerate and criminalize Black people because they're Black. What we're dealing with is the guns in the street, right? And the work that the New York City crisis management system does is we help you heal and turn your life around and become a new person so that you don't get involved in the legal system. We provide you, if you get arrested, you get a lawyer right away, right? So that we can invoke your rights. Because a lot of times you get arrested and you indict yourself and everybody else and you didn't even do nothing, right? So so in one sense, it's really empowering us with the resources we need to build back our community and build back our families and help us heal, right? And the therapy and the trauma, the therapy and the healing process is the most important thing, because trauma is in the beginning, the middle, and the end of violence. And so the more we help everybody heal, right? Because these police, if you notice, there's an increase in suicide amongst law enforcement, right? And so if we help everyone heal and really just understand the humanness of us all, it allows a different response when I see you and you see me.
Just something Angela said earlier, I just wonder, how do you teach police officers like not to be racially biased? Because if you do implement things like, plainclothes police officers, they still have just biases when they see black and brown people. So whenever they do any of these tough on crime type laws, it always impacts us first. I'm like, how do you teach them not to move in that way?
And then to add on to that, also they said there's 30 precincts that have 80% of the crime that's committed in New York, and that's where they're increasing police presence. And so that is automatically going to mean more of us getting arrested, right?
No, actually it doesn't have to mean that. We've been able to decrease the number of people being arrested, right? So, and once again, it's going to be a dual process, right? They're not going to be released right now, that unit there's two different units that y'all are talking about, right? And one thing, it is our collective responsibility to keep our communities safe from anyone, right? And so there's men, and so one of the things that we have is with the peacekeepers, we have men who are just in the community, and they're going to be in those hot spots. So when police come up, right, there's going to be a community watching, engaging, and we've done it. Like the kids were shooting fireworks at the at the police cars, and the police, wanted to jump up, but they communicated with our chief of streets first, right? And we negotiated out of that situation. So they got rid of the police, and we took care of the young people. Well, what we're talking about is there's an element of, like the kid with the AR-15. At that time, he's shooting recklessly, and most of those folks are high, right?
Yeah.
Most of those folks have been in the house during COVID, maybe in domestic violence situations, right? Maybe been abused, maybe have been experiencing gun violence, this back and forth, and their fear of death is making them do those acts, right? So if we're able to get them, right, and get them to put the gun down, engage in, right now, we have shooters, killers, right, who are doing something different with their life, right? We have stopped, like last week, there was a domestic violence situation. And, some of it you can't talk about, but instead of it turning into something else, like what happened in Harlem, we were able to talk that guy off the ledge and hold him in a space, call some other of our partners from Guns Down Life up in the Bronx and go get him, go to exactly where he was while we were in Queens, right? And then he got him, he got in the car with him, and we brought him to him, we connected him to therapeutic services. We're paying him, his job now is to go to therapy. It's to go to leadership development, right? It's to go, so that's what we're talking about. And so we're paying him, keeping him busy, and then also dealing with his partner, right? So, because we got to stop calling domestic violence calls. When it's not real, your man has a record, and the police are going to either kill him or incarcerate him, right? Stop making those calls, right? Let's negotiate the relationship between you guys, and let's end the family violence and settle those situations.
A lot of people are going to say when you said stop making those calls, because there's a lot of women that's getting beat, getting abused, getting hurt.
Yeah, but she's saying that they need somebody else to call. Same thing when you got somebody going through a psychological breakdown. I don't call the police. They're not trained to handle that kind of stuff.
Correct. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Come in, remove him from the house.
Yes, yes. Because we got to deal, like we've done that. We've done that. People have called us and we like, yo, like we're not gonna like beat up. Like we're gonna regulate this dude, right? You're not gonna do this, right? There gotta be men and women in our community that can hold our community down. It's more of us than it is of them, right? And so we could talk about the police till we're blue in the face, no pun intended. But what are black men and women gonna do? Right?
That's real. What
is Latino brothers and sisters going to do? Because this is our community. This is our kids.
What about the gangs in these areas? Because I heard the mayor saying that a lot of this activity was heavily gang related. So what do we do about those gangs? I mean, last week, we seen a young brother who just got signed, and before he could, really celebrate, he was killed. So what do we do about those gangs?
He was with y'all, right?
So his mother and father, his father is active in this work. He's part of an organization called a God Squad, and they're out there and they're, doing this work. And he brought him to us. And, we had just went to court with him. We was, he was supposed to be at Life Camp that day. And so, that's a sad situation because he shouldn't have been dead. And a lot of times I go back, I want to say, but like, what about his friends? What about his friends who could have stopped that shit? Forget about the goddamn police. Because we can stop this shit. What about the person that called and got him to come over there, right, when you know it was going to happen,
it was like,
right?
Yeah, you lining them up. You set them up. Yeah.
Right. What about the person who knew that she was going to call? Because people talk, right? Those are the things we got to zoom in on, right? The young people gang, the group that you're part of is not the guilt situation. It's not, you're not guilty by being part of a gang, right? People join groups because they need somebody to talk to, because they need someone to belong to. It is the activities of those gangs, right? All of them, right? Some of the fraternities and sororities, they people go through their line and end up dead, right? And so it's the activities that they do. And so we have to change the culture of the gang, right? We have to help those people heal so that they don't need a gang. They could be happy in their family. But there's a lot of hurt, and I'm pointing at Charlemagne because he talks about it all the time, right? So how do we make what we do cool? Because we're not cool. Like, no pun, y'all know I got to stalk him. And not that I got to stalk him, but we got to stalk people to get on these airwaves, to get on the TV shows. And we're not trying to be celebrities. What we're trying to do is get people to hear what we're talking about so that you can bring your children, that you can know something is out there, so you can call and 646-258-0936 is our number. 646-258-0936. We have partner organizations like True to Life in Staten Island, SOS in the Bronx, Man Up in Brooklyn, Save in Harlem, all over. And in Long Island, we got a whole bunch of other brothers and sisters. Across the nation, we got a whole bunch of other brothers and sisters. So no matter where you are in the nation, call us and let us connect your child and you to the help that you need to save his life or her life. Let's save these kids. Let's choose life. Let's choose life as opposed to what you think is gangster. That shit is not gangster.
I agree. And Erica, you are cool. You dress better than most rappers. Okay, stop.
And the reason why we do that is because don't nobody want to join no cornballs, right? You look corny out there. Man, get them motherfuckers out of here. Ain't nobody want to be down with them. They corny, right? And so people always say, how can you help, right? And so the people who could we need new orange sneakers. I've been wearing, Belly bought us these sneakers 3 years ago. We need a new company to donate some orange sneakers for us to go out there. We need therapists, social workers, healers, preachers. We need people to come and donate your time. We need Black men and Latino men to join the peacekeepers and stand patrol in your community. We need mothers and fathers to check your house. Check your house. Check your cars, check your bushes, check your backyard, check the barbecue pit, check under the beds, check the floor things, the floorboards, check everywhere. And most of all, check your child's heart, right? Follow them on social media. Make fake pages. Know what they're engaged in, because it is far better for them to be mad at you for invading their privacy than you standing over a coffin angry and upset and your child is dead.
That's right. You know what, Erica, people hear you talk, but you have success stories. Like you've done this in communities all through Queens. Like this isn't new to you.
But not even all through Queens. The New York City crisis management is something that Tupac Shakur, Chaz from Black Hand Entertainment, Supreme from the Supreme Team, right? We sat in my living room, right? We sat in my living room and talked about putting a code to the streets, talked about how we get people like, you got an issue. Let's send you on tour with Naughty by Nature. Let's send you on tour with this one to get away for a period of time. You can carry the bags, and then we pay you to do that so you can get out of town, right? How do we work together? We talked about getting lawyers and training people from now to be lawyers and accountants so that we can control what we're doing, so that we can ease people out the block. We're working with 19 Keys around teaching people to get off the block and get your block, right? And the block change, right? We're working with Slow and Bucks around helping people get cryptocurrency. So, and we built this system across the city. It didn't just start and drop from nowhere. Everybody's taking credit for it now, but it started in that living room in a conversation, right? Code to the streets. And then we built on it. And now it started at 5 sites and $5 million. It's like 41 sites, and the city puts in, I want to be very clear on this because Erica Ford is not getting over $100 million. It goes to the various organizations across the city and city agencies for us to work together to co-produce public safety. We had up to 4 years in our catchment area with no one being killed. We've had up to 562 days with absolutely nobody being shot. We had a whole weekend in New York City where nobody got shot the whole weekend. We thought the systems was broken because we didn't get no alerts. And so I'm saying all of that to say that this shit works. It works, right? And there's some cats who the police say, like, work with this individual, right? And there's some that they say, you are never going to get him to change. And we have got them to change. Like, we got some real G's working at our sites who've done 30 years and done 26 years. And they have not come back from jail and went back in the streets. They're doing something. So that's the first success story. Then we have some young brothers who did put down their guns, right? And is doing something different. Like this young guy, Primo, who works with us. Young guy, Don, who just came home. Like, there's some cats from all over the nation.
How do you tell those kids and a lot of those students that you have and people in your camp, right? Because a lot of times they don't have weapons to hurt somebody. They have weapons to defend themselves. You know what I mean? And that's difficult because now you tell a young man, look, we want you to do this. And they might want to go the right way, but they got to go home.
Yeah,
and when
100%.
they go home, they don't know who they're going to see. They don't know who, and they're protecting themselves. But now, they get pulled over. They know they have a gun in the car, but it's not for violent. It's not for doing anything bad, but they looking at it like I got to protect myself. I get pulled over. They know if I get pulled over with a gun in my car, I'm going to do 3 years. If I'm a second-time felon, I'm going to do more time. So now it's like it's a difficult situation.
Death is difficult.
Mm-hmm. And most people don't want to die. That's why they want to protect themselves.
Right, but you're not. Like, if we look at anyone that's in the street, you pull out a gun, we gunning, right? And so somebody's going to get hurt, right? And if you the upper hand, somebody's coming back, right? And so if you weigh out the balance of what's more dangerous, it's better to put the gun down and try something else, right? And there's various things that you could do. A lot of people always tell you, like, yo, you can't tell a man something because, you done killed his homie. Like, yo, yes, you can.
That's
like,
right.
and I remember we did a video back in the days, and Steve Harvey's like, you know what to tell him to get him in the game, right?
That's right.
You know what
That's
to tell him to get him in the game, to carry the bag or put like this. So we gotta have to figure out what to tell him to get out the game, right? It is our responsibility to help keep people alive. There's no choice, right? You're a punk if you can't do that, right? And I think that it might be there's ways. Pay somebody's girlfriend to keep him in a hotel all night, right? Pay somebody's grandmother to take him down south, right? There's various things that you could do where you could save your face, right? And stay alive. And stay alive. It's buying time. Because if I'm able to buy time, you will get mad at somebody else and go down. And then we got to negotiate the situation, right? People don't have to be kissing cousins, but we can negotiate some peace, right? Whereas we ain't shooting on sight, right? Or there's laws of you ain't gonna do this during these times. You ain't gonna do this during these. And we begin to take steps towards, because like these is kids. These is kids. Kids, I am never under the mindset that some little motherfucker is gonna run my block. I'm gonna die first, right? And I'm not dying. These are our kids. You cannot stand up and say that your kids are more powerful than you. That's insane. There's more of us on the block than it is of them. Change what's going on in the block. Just stand up.
You know, I know there's people who are listening that have their own organizations that they're like, okay, I would love to be part of this and to also get some funding, because we know funding can be a huge issue, as it was for you previously. So how can they be eligible to get some funding so that they can participate?
Yes. They can text Fund Peace, FUNDPEACE, Fund Peace, to 51555. 51555. Every other Wednesday, we bring organizations from around the nation together to learn how they can build capacity. Learn how we have free grant writers. So that's another thing. Anybody who are grant writers who want to volunteer and help these small organizations write these grants, because the funds are going to be coming down. And also, how do you partner with other organizations in your area? Because it's not about just you individually doing the work. The therapist can partner with the violence interrupter group and provide therapy for the people, the participants that they're working with. Or the business people can provide jobs and opportunity and internship. So we can all do this together. We are Life Camp Inc. on all social media platforms, Life Camp Inc. And if you contact us, we will connect you to the organization in your city, in your community, so that you can partner with them and or so that we can help you build your capacity on a national level and be part of this movement, because the resources are coming down.
And what's the healing event that y'all? I saw something with Queen Afua and
tomorrow. So we are on this City of Wellness. So
it'll be today. It'll be today, because it's an air tomorrow.
No, it's some.
It's going to air tomorrow.
My bad.
So it's
my bad.
Today.
Okay, so tomorrow. So right now, in a little while, Queen Afua, Kepra Cares, who's the director of our Wellness and Therapeutic Service, is doing a Heal the Mind, Heal the Heart session with Mara Combo, and it's an IG Live. So if you go to Queen Afua's IG Live or Kepra Cares' IG Live, you can tune in. It's also going to be on Facebook. But we're starting a series, and particularly for elected officials, for officers, for people who are working on the front line of in the cities across America, so that we can begin to heal. And what we're trying to do is, because our mayor, who got all the swag, he is about wellness. He's about healing. He's about emotional intelligence. And so Queen Afua, who comes from Brooklyn, Kepra comes from Brooklyn, Mara, I think, comes from Harlem. And what we're doing is working together to bring all of the healers together so that we can heal New York City.
I see on Fridays we have Vegan Fridays in the public schools now.
Yes.
Although I will say the picture of the meal didn't look that appetizing, but I like the effort.
It's a start. Yeah. It's a start.
I think I speak for everybody up here to say, if you ever need us, we're here. Whether I'm sure Charlamagne can talk mental health, me can talk entrepreneurship, real estate, and I'm sure you can do the same. Like, we would love to. Because I think a lot of times is giving somebody a different outlook on life. Where, you don't have to rap. You don't have to play basketball. There's different ways where you can get out and still be successful and happy. And a lot of times it's just knowing those outlets. And, I'm from Queens Village. He's from Brooklyn. He's from South Carolina. We all didn't come from, humble beginnings, I should say. And we would definitely love to help.
Yeah, all my resources are always available to you, Erica. You know that. I wanted my foundation, Mental Wealth Alliance. I'd love to see what we can do with Life Camp.
Yes, let's do it.
Just letting you know that you are loved, valued, and appreciated. And your work does not go unnoticed. We appreciate you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I'll be doing something with the mayor at the Apollo that's about wellness and nutrition, which I believe is really important too. People need to discuss more, because people will tell you their whole attitude can change when their diet changes also. And to know that people care about you enough to actually point you in the right direction when it comes to nutrition and wellness. That's all part of it too.
It's beyond part of it. It's what controls your mind and your body. At that time, when I'm saying part of my transformation was to stop eating red meat and to eat more healthy. And I seen the, difference in my vibrations. There's a group of young men from Basie Projects, and their fathers was heavy in the game in the streets in the 80s. And we taught them how to do yoga. That was part of their job. We sent them to yoga class. And then in that process, they learned how to eat different, learned how to, think different, meditation. And now they opened up a juice bar right on the block, right?
It'll change your life.
So they changed the culture of what's happening on that corner. They went from hanging in the chicken spot and, smoking weed, hanging out, doing all kind of shit, to hanging out in the health joint, eating vegan food, learning about mindfulness, doing physical fitness. And so now they're running our programs. They're running some of our programs, but they broke that cycle. They broke that cycle, and that's what is the victories, and that's what it's all about. We got like 5 young men who were in, the life, who have opened up juice bars and turning their lives around. And so, we definitely salute those. We got Bar Got Juice, we got Live Life, we got the Dream Cafe, and We All Juicing out in Queens. But those are young kids.
Right. I love to see it. Absolutely. That's why our juice bar is so important to me, too, to make sure that, right, and we make sure that...
there's other alternatives.
Yeah, we provide that in the community because we need more of that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.